Like that?
I was actually starting to crush the cup of beer. I was like, holy shit.
Let me play my part.
Check 2, hey.
Like, is that real? Did that happen? Like,
the structure of your brain actually changes.
And do you still feel that every day?
And then it got time for guitars.
Eating disorder, like
I didn't want to die,
tendencies.
but I didn't want to live.
A helpless little girl.
You gotta go in the hospital.
You feel powerless because the body has a fear reaction.
The opportunity to empower.
No one can take away my power.
I won't take myself out.
Artists that are true like that, those are the ones that tend to create change.
I'm not hanging like I can hang with you, but I can talk about music. I always love the crash on the 2 instead of the 1 because there's tension if you make people wait for it.
Mm-hmm.
Just that hesitation, it just builds up that much more, I think, you know?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of great songs they consist of a lot of tension and a lot of release. And the more tension you can create, the more powerful the release will be when you actually do move into a different section or have a key change. As long as you create good tension towards it, the more intense the release is when you say you get to the chorus. That stuff is really that creates powerful songs for the most part. So yeah, I agree. Like if you
underrated.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the more you wait, the more tension you create. And then when there actually is to release, it's like one of those things where it's like you find yourself like at a good concert, like I was seeing the Mars Volta many years ago when they were like really popular. I think they were on tour for Amputecture was the record they were touring. And I went to see them and the concert was getting so intense. I realized that I was actually starting to crush the cup of beer that I had in my hand and didn't even notice it. I was like, holy shit, this is amazing.
Nice.
Yeah.
So wait, hang on. Do you have a hard stop or do we have time for a few more questions?
Yeah, I have time for a couple more. I like talking about music a lot.
Talked about drummers aren't really melody makers. Drummers are rhythm makers. It's interesting to me. Like I didn't really know the importance of tuning a drum set. You know, I think until maybe even just 5-10 years ago or something. But as a kid, just listening to music, I never really thought about it like the snare or the toms or anything like that as being an instrument that you tune.
Sure.
What do you try to do in that array where you can create a little bit of melody and do you tune everything in fourths and just forget about it? Or is that a really picky thing for you?
No, a lot of times when especially like when you're in the studio, a lot of times what you'll try to do is tune the tom-toms or even go with pitch correction. A lot of times like a lot of drums have a specific timbre that they sit well in with tuning ranges. So an exact like a specific note. I don't know if you sometimes you can tune a drum to a specific note and have it in perfect tune, say with like a tuner, but then again, at the same time, it's not going to feel right. So there's a lot of times where like what you really try to do is just get drums in tune kind of with itself, if that makes sense, where you want to make sure that the whole drum is resonating and it's not like the top head and the bottom head are kind of working simultaneously to create the sustain and the tone that you're looking for and the feel out of the drum. And then a lot of times in the studio, what we'll do is we'll do a little bit of pitch correction with the tom-toms. So that way they're not clashing with any of the melodies or any of the chord progressions that are happening in the song. And that's one of those things that like, a good engineer is going to hear that stuff and is going to fix it so everything is cohesive.
Can you fix that in post? Like if it's not even a note, say it's between a D and a D sharp, can you fix that with triggers or anything? Or like,
yes,
walk us through the high tech aspect of what can be done in post and what can't.
Yeah, actually, there's a couple of programs where you can actually go into the actual sound of the drum and you can pitch correct it so that it's not clashing with the other note that you can hear it clashing with.
Mm-hmm.
But that's one of those things too, where it takes a really, really good set of ears to hear that. And, there's a lot of great producers out there that do hear that stuff, and they will go back in and they will fix that stuff in post. In fact, I think it's better to have things like that fixed in post rather than trying to spend hours and hours and hours in the studio trying to get a drum. You know, if it's just one drum, it's almost a waste of time. And in the studio, time literally is money. For
sure. I think that's one thing that people misinterpret about music. Like, they know that there's talent compensators out there these days with auto-tune and Melodyne and whatever, but it's not always about, oh, that person can't play, we'll just use this program. It's like, you know, a person's singing voice has a limited lifespan in a session, and are you going to make someone shred their voice to pieces when they just did something emotionally amazing, and they'll never duplicate that take exactly the same again, but it was off by 10 cents or 5 cents pitch-wise? Like, that's the kind of thing that software is good for. And I think it gets, that was a lesson that Kel was trying to tell me. I was like, why do we have to pay for tuning? You're a fucking singer. And she's like, that's not what it's for. It's to keep from ripping someone's voice apart when they did something amazing and it was just barely off, and you could they'll never do that again. Do you throw away that take?
Nope, you don't. Yeah. Either it's like, I would say, 25 years ago, it would be one of those things where you lived with it, where it's like, that was the take. This part's a little pitchy right here, but holy shit, that was amazing. And now we have the technology where, like, that take was absolutely amazing. We're going to fix this little tiny spot with pitch correction right there, and we're going to forget about it. And it's going to be one of those things that no one will be the wiser, and it's completely fine because this is a studio recording. And you can do whatever the hell you want. If you want to shoot fucking lasers off, go ahead. But yeah, I mean, it's like it's fine. Whatever goes in the studio. That's like the canvas. I mean, you get all the paint you want and throw it around. It's all good.
Yeah, for sure. Can you walk me through? Do you have any sponsors with your kit or with your gear that you want to talk about a little bit? Favorite pieces of gear on your kit that you're rocking now?
I have a couple of endorsements now. I'm working with Vader drumsticks, and they've been absolutely awesome. In fact, they've even put together a signature stick that I have.
Sweet.
Yeah, so it's actually got my own signature on the side of the stick in ink that I didn't have to put on there myself, which is pretty awesome. And
is it dipped or is it just standard?
It's just a standard stick. It's what I use is the Vader Fatback 3A wood tip, and it's my favorite stick for playing like hard rock metal. It's a great size. It does everything that I need it to do. And Vader drumsticks have been amazing. They've been so great. They make sure that I've got what I need. I mean, if I'm here in the UK, I've got a rep that I can call over here, and he'll make sure that the sticks are right where they need to be, right when I need them. And that also goes for, I have an endorsement with Peisty cymbals as well, and they've been absolutely amazing too. Like when it comes to getting me what I need, the sounds that I need, they're absolutely amazing about it, and they make such good cymbals. So it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to work with them. It is, absolutely. And then I also have an endorsement with Yamaha drums, and they've been pretty awesome. I love the drums. I actually right now I'm using a set of Live Oak Customs by Yamaha, and they are the loudest drums I've ever owned and ever had. Their oak is. I feel bad for my tech because they're extremely heavy, and they're probably. I can say for certain that they are a pain in the ass to move around because I've had to move the drum set around my apartment and to and from rehearsal spaces, and it's like
your drum set is the size of an apartment.
Actually, just about. It's big.
Is epic.
It's
if
big.
People haven't been on your website, Derek S as in Sam sabrams.com, right?
Yes, that's it. That is it.
Yeah, your audition footage and stuff on there is just, I mean, stuff that anyone starting out in drums or just wants to rekindle their passion for music. Just watch this guy play for a minute and you'll be like, okay, I got to get back into it.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. She actually, so back in the day when you guys were talking about working together again, I was like, okay, how good is this guy? Where's the band headed? Blah, blah, blah. Just kind of being the groupie that I am. And she was like, okay, check this out. And she showed me a video of yours. It was a tutorial on YouTube. And it said, you were sitting there saying, the way to drive a rock chorus as a drummer is to picture on the snare drum the face of like kick the shit out of you in middle school or something like that, and just beat the hell out of it.
Yeah, it was. I'm trying to think about that. That's kind of an older video. It was. Picture the bully that terrorized you in high school. Play it like you want to break it.
There you go. Awesome. So, on the music front, I know we're coming up to the top of the hour here. What are you trying to get better at now? As you said, it's constant progression. You can never feel like you've mastered it. Where are you trying to go as a musician today?
I guess the direction I'm kind of wanting to head to with my drumming is I don't want to so much work towards becoming, more machine-like as good as that is. But I think the things that really kind of spark me right now are just playing more playing for the moment, as opposed to making sure that I'm following what's happening and knowing what's coming up and knowing what's coming up after that. But the things that I'm really kind of digging is just really like being in the moment when it's happening and just taking the time to just kind of take all that in, where like a lot of times, especially like when it comes to the compositions with ministry songs, there's a lot of stuff that happens, and there's a lot of stuff that happens in weird places. So like for the longest time, it was me sitting on stage and really just paying attention to the actual composition and making sure that I was conveying everything correctly. Because there's a lot of hit songs that we play on stage, and it's my responsibility to make sure that they're played absolutely correctly to the way that they're supposed to be played, because it's my responsibility to convey that to the audience who has come there to hear that song specifically. And if I make a mistake in that song, then I just ruined it for that audience listener. Mm-hmm. And that's the one thing that like it was, I kind of struggled with that for a little while, where it was like I felt like I was maybe focusing a little bit too much on making sure that I knew what was coming, as opposed to just kind of being in the moment and letting it happen, so that way I can convey the correct energy for the song. It's a constant, I'm constantly learning how to do things and learning how to do things better, and at the same time, like, not making it seem like I'm practicing on stage, if that makes sense. So
yeah, well, when you're on tour, I mean, do you practice between gigs, or is that your resting time? It seems like stage is the practice session when you're traveling and exhausted and going as hard as you are now, right?
Well, actually, the practice time is about between 8 and 10 days before we get on tour. We'll get together and we'll rehearse 8 hours plus a day until we leave, and then we'll have everything set up for there. And then it's either performance time or rest time, and then and in between there. But a lot of times for me, like if we have days off, of course we'll go out and we'll see the city of where we're in, and we'll do the touristy stuff. But I do like to keep a set of drumsticks with me, and if there's something I kind of want to work on, in my hotel room, say with a practice pad or something, like maybe just kind of developing a technique or just trying to keep chops up with this, or from I need to listen to something and just kind of, if I get ideas, like I'm always trying to get practice time in when I can, just because it's all I really want to do.
For sure. So as we wrap up, I will ask you, so Kel's favorite drummer was probably Josh Freese, as far as I can remember. Do you have a favorite? Like a hands down favorite, no pun intended?
I would say my absolute favorite drummer, my favorite drummer to listen to right now and watch play is a guy named John Paul Gaster, and he plays with the band Clutch. And just the way that he plays, and the way that you can just see that he's in the moment all the time, and the way that the band plays together is just fucking magic. So he's my favorite drummer. But then, like, hands down, like, I guess you'd have to say, like, all-time favorite drummer would be, the guys that everybody says changed their life when they were younger, which was like, John Bonham and Buddy Rich, and who else? Chester Thompson, and Elvin Jones. But like the other guy that's like kind of an unsung hero, which I implore every drummer listening to right now, you need to go out and listen to more Deep Purple and check out Ian Pace, because that guy he's an unsung hero out there. Ian Pace is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Nobody
Very
thinks
cool.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like any musician, there's so many out there that are so amazing, but no one has heard of them, or they're sitting on a street intersection in Washington D.C. or something, just beating the hell out of a milk bucket or something.
This is very true.
Do you have 5 more minutes?
Yes, I do.
So, what's the furthest from metal that you've ever been musically in a band you're actually playing in?
I've played a lot of different types of music. I was in a country western band for a while.
Really?
Playing country western covers on the weekends with some buddies of mine, and then I guess the farthest thing from metal that I've ever done. Well, there's 2 projects that I was involved with that were very far away from metal. I did some community theater. I did what was it? The Story of Josephine Baker, which was a lot of jazz standards. And I did that. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun because we were playing 2 shows a day and 5 shows on the weekends. So it was 2 weeks of that, and it was a lot of playing, but it was well worth it because I learned a ton from doing that. And then the other one was I worked in a Tibetan pop rock band with the name Melong, Melong. If you want to check them out, they're a very interesting band. Really cool guys, but it is Tibetan pop rock, and it's very hard to explain, but it's got a lot what would be considered a disco beat behind it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very
That was
interesting.
at the top of my notes. I was hoping we could segue into Tibetan pop rock by the end of the conversation.
Right, exactly. And if that's something you've ever heard of before, but yes, they're actually out of Minneapolis. And
Really?
Yeah.
I will have to check that out.
Yeah, Melong. They're really cool. I had so much fun playing with those guys, and that was one of those things where I learned some really interesting stuff about how their music structures work and just how things work, and especially the way that they were able to kind of merge pop rock and traditional Tibetan music together was actually really interesting. I had a lot of fun working with them.
Yeah, that can be cool. There was an album floating around the house of a friend of mine as a kid called Deep Forest, and it was like what at the time in like the mid to late 80s were like modern beats over African pygmy singing, I think, like really traditional like tribal music, tribal hymns and things like that, and just modern beats. And I still listen to that record. I love it. That
Cool.
stuff just goes really well together. That really soulful stuff that just gets handed down through centuries, and then, just put a good snare on it.
Yeah, right.
Business.
Right.
For sure. So what do you think would you say would be like the top mistakes that people make when they're trying to learn drums for the first time, for the younger people listening?
I would say one of the top mistakes that get made would be to think that it's something that you can be self-taught. You can be self-taught so far. You have to sit down with a professional and learn certain things, because the big thing that happened to me was that I was self-taught till I was about 12 years old. And then when I did sit down with a professional, I learned just how many bad habits I had developed with like bad technique and, the bad habits that I had learned. I mean, having sat down with a professional was, and learning how to read music and read rhythmic notation was very important. And that's only helped me get to where I'm at now, was just learning from other people. Because when you're self-taught, you only know what you know. So you have to talk with a professional. You have to.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely take lessons. I think it makes sense to get ears other than your own on your music as well. Otherwise you'll just imitate stuff you've always loved and you won't expand.
Absolutely.
Very cool. Well, thank you for being on the program. I know you've got a show, so I won't take up a ton more of your time. If you could, plug anything else that you want to, go ahead. If you want to let people know why they should support the Kelly Nicole Foundation, get their band merch, let me know. You were on the album. I'll definitely send you at least a hoodie. So
yes,
go
please.
ahead and email me your address, and I'll get you some Kelly Nicole merch you can hold on to there.
That'd be awesome. Yes, I'll make sure that happens. I would say, don't let things bottle up, get the help that you need to get. It's out there. And now that there's so many outlets, there's so many, foundations to go to, definitely check this foundation out. It's all for the right cause, and it's in the heart is in the right place for it too. So that's definitely what makes it special. So I would say, don't let things bottle up. Talk about it. Make sure that, people know what's going on with you. It's important, because when people get quiet and they, and they kind of withdraw, that means something's wrong. And that's what this is for. So
For sure.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It's been an honor. It's an honor listening to you play on my wife's album. And for those of you who haven't checked out Ministry, go ahead and hit it. For those of you Ministry fans who haven't checked out Hate Becoming by Kelly Nicole, think you'll like it. Check it out. Thanks, Derek. Take care.
Get the music behind the mission. Hate Becoming by Kelly Nicole on iTunes and Spotify.
If you guys haven't checked out the merch table,
join the movement.
Buy the album.
Get your Kelly Nicole band merch and donate what you can at kellynicolefoundation.org.
Courage is from Amplified!